Welcome to Prime Sports. My name is Daniel Cranting. Let's begin with some athletics news. And Ghana's women's long jump record holder Deborah Acquah has shared her disheartening experience at the 2023 World Championships in Budapest, where she was denied financial support despite the Ministry of Youth and Sport extending same to two other athletes. Speaking in an interview with Joy Sports Muftar Nabila, Acquah mentioned that Ghana had promised to support her but failed to deliver.
That was the only one I was expecting. I think the only one that I was expecting that broke my heart would be I think they sent two ministers to come to the game. So on the normal, they would just come and then give whatever they're supposed to give and then go away. But then this time they came and then they asked about an interview I did with Fentio at the World Champs where. Oh yeah, we're going to Budapest, yeah, right? That is Budapest. Okay. But I think that was after my jump where I said something about, Ghana promising, because I didn't mention anybody's name, but I remember our friend to asking and I said, oh yeah, Ghana promised, because I didn't want to, So then they came to ask me who did promise me. And I said, oh, it was GOC, it's the new Mensa. And they said, well, they were wondering like who promised me and stuff like that. So, I remember two of the ministers came and they sat us down to ask us individually what we needed help with. So I told them that throughout my whole 4 years here at SNM, I had not altered an interview where I mentioned, that I needed help with anything. Because whatever I needed, my school, provided. So I never had an interview where I spoke about, needing support or something. So then me talking about it now means like I really need it. So after whatever we talked about, the discussion, I heard they gave the other two some money, if I can recall. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I heard it was, I think, 8,000 US. So so I was even thinking that, maybe I'll be called to, maybe also get something. So I was just there, but I didn't hear anything from them. So I remember I went downstairs. I think it was the same day or the next day. So I saw Mr. Bauer. I went to sit close to him and I asked him, that, hey, I heard that so and so, so I'm also going to get something. And then, to be honest, he said, no, because I'm not going to get the money because I got injured when I was in school. So that means my school's supposed to take care of me or something, right? So then I was so I was down, like I wasn't expecting that from them. So I was so shocked. So I was like, oh really? Yeah. So I was like, oh really? I didn't get some of the money because I got injured whilst I was in school. But then Paul got injured that year. Dad was also in school. So he also got injured whilst he was in school because I remember his season was really, tough, stuff like that. So, like, what happened? Like, why me?
Associate Professor of Physiotherapy and former Heart of Oak physiotherapist Jonathan Quartey has revealed that only 3 clubs have proper medical structures that include a physiotherapist. The lack of proper structures in Ghana Premier League clubs has been a major talking point in recent years, and Quartey says not enough seriousness is attached to certain aspects of the game in Ghana.
The Premier League, I think there are just about 3 clubs that have, a proper medical structure that includes a physiotherapist. The academies are doing very well. WAFA, sorry if I have to mention their names, Right to Dream, because these are physiotherapists who pass through our hands and are working in these facilities. That's what I know. But otherwise, generally speaking, physiotherapy in sports in Ghana is not anything to write home about.
And so we all get, from time to time we hear of these injuries that players get, and then it becomes a problem for them and all of that. You've spoken about preventive physiotherapy. What are some of the things that are done for athletes and sportsmen to keep them in space and just keep them, within balance so that they don't fall off track and get themselves in trouble with injuries?
Well, I think basically it's about education.
Okay.
Talk to them And of course, you must have a good understanding of each of these sports that the athletes perform in. So if it's football, you must have a good understanding of how football operates. If it's hockey, if it's track and field, and then you provide good education. There are do's and don'ts. You have to wear proper kits, proper preventive stuff. Not to deviate, but I still remember in 2017 when we were preparing to go for a tournament, just normal shin guards. And it was missing during training. And the injury that occurred, and it was a penultimate for traveling. The injury that occurred was something that ruled out the player completely from the tournament. So equipment, for instance, is some of the things we have to look at. Then we tell them about techniques. Aside what the coaches tell them, we tell them about techniques. Your running, your balance. Basic things that you have to understand as far as your sport is concerned to try and prevent the injury, because your work is the sport you actually participate in, especially if it's elite. And therefore, it becomes very important to try and make sure that you provide the necessary tips that are essential to get them out of the way of injury.
Now, there was some matchday 30 action in the Ghana Premier League earlier today where Nations FC closed the gap on league leaders Samatex after beating Accra Lions to return to winning ways. Merima Bar's first half strike was enough for the hosts to complete a double over the Accra-based side, ending their 5-game winless run. Let's now take a look at the fixtures for matchday 30 in the Ghana Premier League. So we see that result between Nations FC and Accra Lions. Brekum Chelsea will play host to Asante Kotoko. Legon Cities will take on Great Olympics. Hearts of Folk will take on Diana Stars, and Swatreman, who are through to the FA Cup final, will play host to BBN Gold Stars. Bechem United will take on Karela. Midiama, who are defending champions, will take on RTU. Samatex, who are league leaders, will take on FA Cup finalists Bofakwa Tano. And then Dreams FC will take on Kwando Hearts of Lions. Now, with the Division 1 league set to come to an end, Joy Sports' Victor Achutamaklo previews the competition in which teams are most likely to gain promotion to the Ghana Premier League.
I think the real story of Zone 1A has to be Teshiman Heroes, who are bidding to return Premier League football to the Ohene Amayo Park. If you look at the team on match days and even the way they prepare for these games, they are a direct reflection of the men behind him. Eric Opoku, very young man who is pragmatic and also a realist in every sense of the word, and the clarity that he brings to the job is what makes it easier for them to accomplish what they've done. And I was looking at their numbers, especially their home form. That's where I think their real advantage lies, because in 13 games they scored 20 goals. They've only let in twice all season at home. Yes, they've lost one match, but you also want to look at that attacking prowess and how easily they've blown teams away. Last weekend, a lot of us thought that Wasonta may create a problem or two, but the players who have shown a lot of consistency and have assumed responsibility as the season has progressed stepped up again. So Ebenezer Japan scored his 5th goal of the season. Even though Emmanuel also did not score, he put in a very credible performance as he's done all season for them. And those two players essentially have shouldered the goal scoring responsibility and even the match winning ability, if you like, for the team on days when they've not scored. Between the two of them, they scored 10 goals. And that is, so 5 goals for each player. That is the highest any player has scored in the team. What it just shows you is that this is a team that is not reliant on one player, but they've got, they're able to share the goal scoring responsibility amongst themselves. Now, if you look at the recent form in the home stretch, that is what gives me a lot of optimism that they'll be able to see this through, because they have won 4 out of the last 5 matches that they've played. But more importantly, the last 5 home matches that they've played, they've won all of them. So this weekend they go again in what my estimation is the most important game of the season. They take on 2nd place VC Warriors, who bloody good. Very good team on the road and at home as well. But I've just explained to you the performance of Teshiman Heroes at the Ohene Amayo Park, especially in the home stretch of the season. And that's where my optimism comes from, that just as they did last weekend against Wasonta, just as they've done all season, I'm banking on them to get the results, which more or less will confirm their place in the Ghana Premier League next season, or will get them closer, because there is a small matter of the playoff tie that they will have to play with the winner of Zone B. But yeah, and maybe if you are a betting man, you may want to put your money on Ebenezer Japan or Emmanuel Owusu, one of those two scoring this weekend.
It looked to be a two-horse race between Young Apostles and Mighty Royals, but in the last few weeks, Techiman Liberty Youth have joined the fray, and that is because Mighty Royals suffered a big loss to Balfour Soccer Academy over the weekend. I mean, out of the three, Mighty Royals have been the biggest home winners because they have 35 points. I mean, no team has reached that figure. They are closely followed by Young Apostles, who have 34 in that regard as well. And then there is Techiman Liberty Youth, who are also doing quite impressive at home. What has been a bit of a letdown for the three teams also has to be their form away from home, because as things stand, none of them has been able to reach even 11 points from the 12 games they have played away from home, which is a bit disturbing for them. For Mighty Royals, they dropped to third, but then the remaining games for them against Brekum City and then 11 Wonders are easily fixtures that they can maneuver their way around. So it's about keeping their consistency. They might have lost against Balfour Soccer Academy, but then there's always a point to turn their season around. The last two games, the crucial part of the season, is where these teams come up.
I think the most competitive zone among the three has to be Zone 2, obviously. So you have Park Academy, Ebusu Wanderers, New Edibiase United, Basake Holy Stars, 43, 42, 41, 41 points. It's crazy. 4 teams separated by just 8 points at each level coming down. If you look at their form in the running, it will just explain to you why they are so close, because they've all been inconsistent, particularly on the road. But at home is where their real strength lies. You realize that for all of those 4 teams, they seem to have struggled on the road. So only Ebusu Wanderers have picked up 2 wins in the last 5 matches that they've played on the road. Conversely, if you look at their form at home, for all of those teams, so I'm talking about Park Academy, New Edibiase, Ebusu Wanderers, and even Basake Holy Stars, all of them are averaging a minimum of 3 wins and a draw at home. The one team that is trying to deviate from that norm is Ebusu Wanderers, and that's where I think the advantage will come in. So while a lot of people are focusing on the top 2 in Park and then Edibiase, my money is on Ebusu Wanderers, because they are the only team that is getting consistency on the road, because the home form more or less evens out.
Also for Edibiase and Holy Stars, it's tight because they are on the same point. If you drop any point, you're probably out of the title contention. So it's very tight. But I expect Edibiase to go to because of their experience.
I think that they've essentially created an excuse for themselves, because of all of this petty politicking with the Ghana Football Association. Abdul Salam recently got suspended for doing something he was not supposed to do. He and the Edibiase constituency will swear heaven and earth that the FA is just being unfair to them, and that's why they are very harsh in their dealings with them. But those are things that I think you need to be able to decouple the owner's personality from the team. When it is that at key moments in the season you are hearing players referencing that and using that as an excuse, or extending that into officiating and interpreting some questionable calls or calls that they disagree with, to say that this is an example of what we say that the FA has an agenda against us. It's not something you want to see, and that is a massive red flag as far as I'm concerned, because they are essentially giving themselves an excuse to fail.
Well, if you talk to the people at Edibiase, that's what they think. And if you listen to them speak, it's the reason both Abdul Salam Yakubu and his CEO have been fined by the Ethics Committee of the Ghana Football Association, because they are, of course, these things are underlying issues in our game. But for me, I think that they should just focus on the game and leave the politics aside. And it's in their hands now. Even though there are a lot of factors that will not be in their hands, but they should just do their best and try to see if they can qualify, because I expect Holy Stars to also drop points. Well, it is, truly it is, and that's a very good observation, because for a team like Sky, they don't have a big squad. So to compete at both the cup games level and also in the Division 1 qualification or Division 1 promotion dogfight has always been difficult for them. Don't forget, they were in the last 3 years, they've been competing against some of the best clubs, and we've seen those clubs in the Premier League and what they've done. Nations, for instance, are second in the Premier League as we speak, and they competed against Sky last season in Division 1. Samaritans, who are winning the Premier League, qualified ahead of Sky, 2 seasons ago. So clearly, should tell the competition they faced in the last 2 seasons. So to combine both the league and also the FA Cup, for me, it's a tall order. But they've done well. They've produced some of the big names today we have in the Premier League, for both nations and also for Sky FC. So clearly, it's really sad that when this year everyone thought that they were favourites to qualify, they've not been able to hit the same height. And for Hoho United, for people who don't know, it's Liberty. The owner bought Liberty Professionals. Liberty Professionals competed for the Premier League slot last season with Tamayuta. When they finished the final game at the Transport Stadium, we were there together. They did not make the Premier League because of their own doing. So to buy the same club and to compete at this level shows you the consistency level of the club.
I think what we're seeing at Hoho United is the benefits that you get from stability and continuity. They're enjoying that, because when the team bought the slots that belonged to Liberty Professionals 2 years ago, or was it last year? A lot of us did not really expect that they would kick on immediately. But what they did in that time was essentially be very pragmatic in their expenditure, in the sense that even though they had a lot of money, Peter Amewu is pretty resourceful these days, and this being his first foray into football, he really has shown a lot of muscle in there. But they've been very smart about their investments. So they retain as many as 8 of the players from Liberty Professionals, and also were very intelligent in the manner that they related with the community that they found themselves in. We know that in the Volta region, Kwando Hearts of Lions are obviously the big boys there. But the struggles of teams like West Africa Football Academy, who played very good football and got good results, but still could not create that bond with the support base there, became a cautionary tale to them. And so what they do, they put out a community engagement plan that essentially has given them a new life around the team and created an enabling atmosphere, almost intimidating one at home for opponents that visit them.
They beat Vision by 2-0 to cut the gap by 3 points. So it's a very competitive zone. Hoho United have been very good, but Vision, with former assistant coach of House of Kamza in charge of the club now, they've played really, really, really well this season. They started pretty well, but don't forget, Vision have always been that team that does well in the first round, in the second round, some way somehow lose interest in the Premier League and lose games or drop points. But in the last 2 years, they've really, really changed their, I don't know if it's a mindset or just a policy direction, but they mean business.
If you look through the list of coaches that they've hired in the past, Vision FC has to be one of those teams that can boast of Premier League quality, Ghana Premier League quality coaches back in Division 1 and sometimes even in Division 2. They always favored going with expats. And curiously, in the one season that they decided to go with Hamza Oben, who's more or less a young man still learning to cut his teeth as far as coaching in Ghana football is concerned, is the season they've come closest to qualifying for the Ghana Premier League.
I think that for me, it is still not over between Vision and Hoho United. Only the fact that they lost over the weekend. If they can bounce back 3 points is enough for them to do so. So I tip Vision to qualify, but I will not be surprised if Hull United pulls a surprise.
The English Premier League, which happens on Sunday. That's match day 38 in the English Premier League. Yeah, so we have it is Arsenal, who are second place, 2 points behind league leaders Manchester City. They will take on Everton at home. Brentford will host Newcastle. Brighton will take on Manchester United. Burnley will be up against Nottingham Forest. Chelsea will end the season at home against Bournemouth. Crystal Palace will take on Aston Villa. Liverpool versus Wolves. There's Luton who will take on Fulham. Manchester City, who are just a win away from the title, will host Mohamed Kudus' West Ham. And then Sheffield United will face Tottenham Hotspur. That's all for today's edition of Prime Sports. My name is Daniel Cranting. Have a lovely evening.